Hey, ladies, it's episode 47 of the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. You know, I think we could probably all agree that we are living in uncertain times, and it's kind of felt that way for a while. And I know last week I talked about decision making and responding and how we were approaching that fear or love, stress or peace. Well, every week I coach a group of entrepreneurs. I'm their life and mindset coach while they're doing some amazing, amazing work. And one of the questions posed was, how do we function? How do we live? How do we find success each day living with such uncertainty? And I thought, this is something everyone's struggling with, everyone's thinking about. So what I wanted to do here on the podcast is actually share an excerpt from that life coach session with you. All right, let's get started.
Welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast with certified life coach, mom of four, and just all-around lover of all things 80s, your host, Jennifer D'Amato. Buckle in. Let's get started.
So one of the visuals that I shared with my Thursday group was that this is a marathon. You know, I think maybe back in March we thought we were going to be going for a sprint here, but clearly it's a marathon. And when it comes to taking care of our mental health, and we look at this season as a marathon, you know, we might need to stop and get more water than we're used to. We might need more breaks. You know, oftentimes, the end of the day is enough, right? We go hop in a bubble bath at the end of the day, or we kind of just zone out, check out, maybe watch a show, or I don't know, read a book, something relaxing, hop in the pool, go in the hot tub, take a walk, and it's enough. It's enough to feel just that level of self-care daily and, just rejuvenated. Well, unfortunately, with as uncertain as these times are and the weight that's being carried by many, it's not enough. So in this marathon, we might need more breaks than we're used to. And to be able to give ourselves permission to take more breaks, to walk away from things more often, to check out, even if it's 5 minutes at a time, and just get off social media, walk away from our desk, sit out in the sun for a moment. We just might need more. I know you might not be an entrepreneur listening to this, but you might be a mom. You might be a wife. You might be a leader. You might work with other people and have employees under you. And you may not be like most of these people on this call who are working in mental health fields. They're helping others and they're carrying so much of that weight of what they hear from other people. But the reality is, if you're a parent, you're carrying the weight of your kids' stress and anxiety of the uncertainty. You might be carrying that weight of, your spouse feeling uncertain or being anxious right now, or just other loved ones, parents, whoever that is. So even though you may not be the entrepreneur working in mental health, you are experiencing the same uncertainty. And I believe the two strategies that I shared on this call benefit those on the call, but they'll also benefit you. All right, let's take a listen. And one thing I know that you do honor is that level of self-care, whether it's stepping away from work on a weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Or you need to even take some extra measures to do that level of self-care. And so I'm not talking bubble bath self-care. I'm talking turning off all social media. I'm talking going to bed or laying down and taking a nap. I'm talking about things where you need to read a book to not, to bring yourself somewhere else or put on a ridiculously silly British comedy, Tony.
That always brings a smile to my face, yeah. But you're
yes.
right, we've got those things in place.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. And they might be, as much as the uncertainty heightens, is the self-care heightens. It's taking care of that mental health. Now, as far as a tool or strategy, you did ask that. And again, knowing everyone on the call, we're all living in the same circumstances, maybe even some level of the same uncertainty, that we need to just acknowledge physiologically, yeah, there's things going on. We know there's things going on when we're stressed out. We know our cortisol levels go up. We know our pituitary gland might be releasing more crap and our, adrenals might be fatigued. We know all those things are happening. So one thing I do is I use conscious breathing. And it's one of those tools and strategies we know, but we don't necessarily tap into it on a daily basis. And one of the techniques I teach is the 5-5-7 breath.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that inhale, pausing, and then exhaling out, making sure your exhale is longer than your inhale. And really, our goal is to trick our nervous system. It's to tell us in the midst of chaos, we need the parasympathetic nervous system. We need to feel relaxed. Now we could, we use that a lot for digestive stuff, but we also use that when we are freaking stressed out to the max. And it's that chronic low level, which I actually believe that's where we are. We're kind of all experiencing that chronic low level stress. And these are the things where you might need to use this breath all the time going into that place where I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to do 10 rounds. I always say 10 because it usually, for me and most people I work with that use this, it takes until the 7th round of it to notice any change because we're holding stuff. We're almost holding our breath in the uncertainty. We're holding our breath in the task. We're holding our breath. And so when we're conscious breathing, it takes that time for our brain to even have a switch at all. Ideally, if you can close your eyes, ideally, if you can have your feet planted or even lay down and tell your brain you're okay. Because remember, if we believe Maslow, we want to feel safe. We want to feel okay. We don't want to feel like the bear is constantly chasing us. So we go back to that place where our brain feels we're safe. So that's one technique. Another one could be a dump journal. You might need to literally purge out these thoughts. And the reason, just for everyone listening to, I'm spending some time here because I, just even what I'm seeing come up from the form, there's a lot of this going on. What if we even just literally take them out? I think we leave them in our head and they can swirl around. They can just kind of stay there and keep circling. And I'm not saying a dump journal somehow fixes it, but when we can see our thoughts, I believe there's something that happens in our brain when they're not just swirling around, but when we have them in front of us and we can kind of address them. It might be that you stop what you're doing and you notice like, I'm just something's going on. I'm having a physical response or my heart rate's up and I don't know why, or I'm just not focused on this task. Grab that journal. Anything that comes up in your mind, everything that comes up in your mind, and put it down. You may stop there because it may be enough. But it may be where you kind of come in where we've talked about the inner critic and you use part of that exercise where you go back and look at those thoughts and whatever jumps out at you and you went, that's the thing. That's what's really bothering me. And address that particular thought. And you can go through that process where, okay, what do I need to shift or change or reframe about that? What's my Christmas in the wintertime thought going to be? And that's what I want to focus on here. So those are a few things that we can do that we can just simply just put into practice. But it might feel like, gosh, I'm doing this all the time because I'm feeling this all the time. And I would say, I've never seen such a time as this. And that, there's a lot going on just with what you all are building and creating, and you're running businesses while you're doing it on top of a worldwide uncertainty and that weight. And especially, I know almost all of you in some way or fashion are working with mental health. So you carry that as well with you, right? So you're even wearing some of that of other people's uncertainty, because who are they turning to? Well, they're turning to all of you. They're leaning on the fact that you do have tools and strategies. So it might be that in this part of the marathon, you're stopping to take more water breaks than you normally do. and you're slowing down a little bit on the sidelines so you can show up for yourself and in turn show up for everybody else. So those two strategies, using conscious breathing and or the dump journal, you can do both of them. Most of my clients, when they discover conscious breathing, they start using it all the time, whether they journal or not. They really love the benefits of conscious breathing. But the dump journal exercise can be such a powerful tool. And maybe you only have a few moments, so all you can fit in is the breathing. And then maybe later in the day, you need to dump everything out, all those thoughts. But utilizing one or both of these tools really can help us through this time of uncertainty so that we can show up for ourselves. And I do believe if we can show up better for ourselves, strong for ourselves, it does benefit those around us. Maybe it's employees, maybe it's kids, maybe it's those that you serve. But no matter what, when you're better, everything around you can be better. I hope that just this little excerpt of my coaching of these amazing entrepreneurs was useful for you. I hope that you give a shot to one or both of these exercises, as we may be living in uncertainty for an uncertain amount of time. If you find that it's not enough and you do want to partner with a coach, you can reach out to me. And if I'm not the coach for you, if you're not working on negative self-talk, if you're not focused on intuitive eating, I have a lot of coaches, a lot of those who work with mental health as a resource for you. Until next week, ladies.